This is the guitar pool here at Eden Hot Springs. This is the pool that I mostly like to spend my time in when I'm here. And it's neat because it's just a walk up a hill, but most of the people don't like to take the walk, so you can always come up here and get the privacy you want. I'm here with some of the Sonoran Desert's, if not the Southwest's most celebrated chocolatiers. Jeff from Fortina Chocolate here. He's sort of the blacksmith of chocolatery. And from Sedona Chocolate Superfoods, Kelly over here, who's sort of known as the Sonoran Desert's chocolate alchemist. And people throw that around, but this guy's got the real laboratory. And hopefully we'll get you some footage of their stone grinder at the chocolate tree in Sedona when we head there next. With the guitar pool here, got some interesting history, some rock and roll history, but the women of the Eden Hot Springs family have taken to calling this the goddess pool, so I'm trying to reorient my brain. It is sort of shaped a bit more like a goddess than a guitar. Really amazing spring fed right by that, the Eden Hot Springs source pool. This is the bluff where we do our sun gazes in the evening. Because the desert sky is so dry, it's very reliable to get a sun gaze most evenings here. This was a unique time where there was actually quite a bit of clouds, but yeah, normally the sun sets over here in the west. And so what we'll do is a family will come up here and sun gaze. You know, that's one of the technologies that I learned from David Wolf.
This earth, air, fire, and water thing is really profound, because if you really need to ground yourself, you get into the waters of the earth. You bury yourself in dirt. You get into the spring water. You get your shoes off. You get connected.
You know, he's been leading people here for a long time, coming up on this hill and watching that sunset, growing our pineal glands, cracking up that calcification and fluoridation that happens to the pineal glands through, you know, industrial domestication, and actually growing the spiritual center of ourselves, the third eye, the pineal gland, with its photoreceptors gazing into that setting sun. For those who rise early, looking in the other direction off this bluff is good too, as they catch the sunrise. But it's another one of the things I love about this place, is being able to really get all of the elements. The air, you can hear it moving around right now, whipping around that ocean of air, the fire of the sun, the earth of this place, those salts coming right up to the surface, that earth element, and of course the waters, the spring waters of this place, now called Eden Hot Springs, once called Indian Hot Springs, and who knows how many other names it's had as sacred land to the Apache and to the Ho'oponopono people of this area. But you know, that's what it's all about, coming out and immersing yourself in the temple of the elemental, immersing yourself in the four elements. We call this spring the Emerald Pool, and that's because of the beautiful green algae growing up in it. They form just the most stunning formations as it comes up and rises up, almost like stalagmites coming up from the ground. The water here is a bit hotter than it is over at the source, and a bit less salty. It's about 115 degrees. Remember, just 100 yards up the hill, the water comes out at 110, full of salt. Here it is at 115.3 Fahrenheit. It's just so interesting how springs do that. And it's one of those things you learn when you get into the kind of habit of spring jumping around the country and around the world, exploring different springs. It's like you learn that there's some kind of magic, that the same water can come up in different places and be completely different. And that means its medicine is different, and its therapeutic properties are different because it has a different temperature and a different mineralogy. I'd say about 270 times 10, about 2,700 parts per million. Now that's a high TDS. Remember, as your frame of reference can be this, in the United States, bottled waters at 250 parts per million are considered mineral waters. So this is definitely a mineral water at 2,700 parts per million. Not a water you'd want to drink all the time, but an amazing therapeutic water. The minerals that it carries are like medicine in your body. Remember, there was a whole era of history here in the United States and in Europe where there was a therapeutic approach to living called balneopathy. And that was the study of the healing properties of sacred waters. And if you know the Summit Spring where I've been working with to bring out the raw water, you know, Summit Spring is in Harrison, Maine, and it's a cold spring. It had a hotel on the property. If you go to my website, surfrival.com, if you go to danielvitalis.com, findaspring.com or even summitspring.com, you can see pictures of the old hotel that was on that land. When I first came to Eden Hot Springs, there was a hotel here that was about 100 years old. That hotel has since burned to the ground and this land's been set free of it. And the hotel that was on Summit Spring is gone now as well. What's so interesting is the hotels were almost replicas of each other, almost identical. And what I could see from studying that was that they both came from the same era in history where similar architecture, or maybe even similar architects, were designing hotel structures at sacred springs around the continent. And people were traveling by rail to go heal at the springs. They were spring jumping then, just like we're doing now, because they understood the healing properties of it. So what we're doing by exploring these different springs isn't really new. It's we're carrying on a lineage. These are the waters from the Emerald Pool flowing down to the Geronimo Spring. When I look at the amount of water moving down here, I mean, it's all bubbling right out of that pool we just looked at. The amount of water coming out of here in such a dry climate, a place like the Sonoran, it gets so little rainfall. The fact that the aquifer is so full that it can produce that much water constantly and consistently for countless generations, who knows how long the water's been flowing from here. I mean, we just simply don't know. But it's been consistent as long as I've been coming here, and it's been consistent for at least the 100 years that that hotel was here, and for countless generations beyond that, because we know that the Apache came here and that this was sacred land to them as well. That aquifer is full. The earth, Gaia, is just giving forth all of this water all the time with no waste. It just flows down and feeds an ecosystem that in the Sonoran Desert, where there's deer and rabbit and owl and cardinals, we've seen foxes, lizards. I mean, the amount of fauna and flora here is so unique, and it's all because of this amazing water.